Moonlight filtered through the thinning canopy, casting long, wavering shadows across the cracked asphalt and overgrown weeds. The forest behind them receded, leaving Carter and Vera standing at the threshold of open fields. Each step forward felt like a defiance against the world that had hunted them relentlessly. Carter's legs trembled, exhaustion gnawing at every fiber of his body. He leaned heavily against Vera, feeling the solid strength of her massive frame supporting him. Her amber eyes flickered across the landscape, scanning the distant horizon, every movement precise, deliberate, alive with instinct. "Carter," she murmured, low and resonant, almost more vibration than voice. "Stay close." He nodded, swallowing hard, drawing courage from the silent promise in her gaze. Together they moved forward, shadows slipping past abandoned vehicles and broken road signs. The hum of distant drones and faint metallic echoes of the facility lingered in the air, a reminder that the world they had escaped from was still watching. Branches scraped against their skin as they crossed a patch of overgrown fields. Carter's heart pounded. "Do you think they'll come after us here?" he whispered, voice barely audible. Vera lowered her head, amber eyes narrowing into razor slits, scanning the darkness beyond. "They always come," she said simply. "But not tonight. Not here. Distance is our ally. For now." Carter's fingers brushed against hers, finding strength in the warmth and solidity of her massive hand. The bond forged in fire, blood and survival throbbed through him like a heartbeat. Each step, each careful movement carried them deeper into the unknown. A sudden rustle in the distance made Carter freeze. His pulse quickened, hand tightening around Vera's. Vera stopped instantly, muscles coiled like steel, eyes glowing faint gold in the moonlight. "Hold," she whispered, the word heavy with warning and authority. Carter crouched lower, matching her movements. The forest held its breath with them, waiting, alive. From the edge of the trees, a faint mechanical whir rose, a patrol drone, sleek and silver, sensors glowing faint red, skimming silently over the fields. Carter's stomach twisted. "It found us," he whispered. "No," Vera said, almost in a hiss. "It searches. It fails." The drone swept past their hiding spot, oblivious to the fugitives in their path. Carter exhaled shakily, realizing the reprieve was only temporary. Vera pressed a hand against his shoulder, silent reassurance radiating through her touch. "Let's keep moving," she said, amber eyes scanning the horizon. "Every step counts. Every heartbeat matters." The two of them slipped into the fog-drenched fields, shadows against shadows, fugitives against a world that had declared them unfit to exist. The night stretched ahead, full of unseen dangers but also of possibilities, hope, survival, and the unbreakable bond that would carry them through whatever came next. Moonlight stretched across the open fields as Carter and Vera moved silently toward the edges of a derelict town. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. Broken asphalt cracked beneath their feet, and weeds clawed through the ruins of a world long abandoned. Rusted vehicles leaned at odd angles, street signs sagged, and the skeletal remains of buildings cast long shadows. "This place, people used to live here?" Carter whispered, voice heavy with exhaustion and awe. "No one comes here anymore," Vera replied, amber eye scanning the edges of the tree line. "Which is why, safe, for now." Carter wiped the sweat and grime from his brow, trying to process the desolation. "For now," he echoed, unease creeping into his tone. "We can't stay here. They'll track us eventually." Vera tilted her massive head slightly, muscles coiled, senses alert. "Distance, ally, but not forever," she said calmly. "We move before they notice." Ahead, the faint outline of an abandoned store emerged, its walls scarred, windows shattered. It offered shelter, cover, and a vantage point. Vera led him toward it, limbs moving with grace that belied her size, every step precise, every movement deliberate. Carter leaned against a crumbling wall inside, catching his breath, while dust floated in the shafts of moonlight cutting through the cracks above. Vera positioned herself at the center of the space, ears flicking, eyes scanning every sound, every shadow. "They'll come," Carter murmured. "The facility won't let this go." "They always come," Vera replied simply, voice calm, powerful. "But they do not understand. We are not just survivors. We are something more." Carter's gaze met hers. "More?"
"We are Defiance," she said, towering even in the dim shadows. "Proof they cannot control everything. Some lives cannot be contained or destroyed by their rules." A distant howl cut through the night, and Carter's pulse spiked. "They found us," he said. "No," Vera said, calm but alert, tilting her head. "They sense us. They will come closer, but not yet." Carter swallowed hard, aware that their sanctuary was only temporary. "And we prepare," he said, determination rising through exhaustion. Vera lowered her massive head, amber eyes locking with his, a silent promise. They weren't safe, but together they were unstoppable. For the first time in weeks, Carter felt hope. They would endure. They would survive, no matter the cost, no matter what came next. He inhaled deeply, and with her beside him, stepped into the unknown. The ruined road stretched before them, fog thick in the dim light, night tense with unseen threats. Carter's eyes strained, heart hammering with every step. Vera moved silently beside him, a shadow among shadows, ready to strike if needed. A distant flash of light illuminated the tree line. A patrol drone. Carter froze. "Hold." Vera lowered herself to the ground, tail brushing the rubble silently. The drone passed without detecting them. Carter realized this night would be filled with tests, every snap of a twig, every flash of light demanding full attention. Yet with Vera beside him, terrifying and precise, survival felt possible. Finally they reached the edge of the forest where open fields stretched toward a distant ridge. Moonlight washed the landscape, revealing both the enormity of the terrain and the fragility of their escape. "We've made it this far," Carter whispered, noting the bruises still visible along Vera's shoulders. "But they'll be coming." Vera lowered her massive head, amber eyes locking with his, a silent promise. They weren't safe, but together they were unstoppable.
Carter and Vera moved cautiously into the derelict town, the fog curling around abandoned buildings like ghostly fingers. Every step echoed softly against the cracked pavement, every shadow a potential threat. The town seemed frozen in time, a graveyard of human ambition abandoned decades ago. Vera's massive frame cast long shadows across shattered windows as she led Carter through narrow alleys, sidestepping debris with uncanny precision. The moonlight caught the glint of metal scattered on the ground, remnants of cars, machinery, and forgotten lives. "This place," Carter whispered, voice trembling from exhaustion and awe. "It feels alive." Vera's amber eyes swept the ruins. "Alive with memory and danger," she said quietly, muscles coiled, ears twitching to every faint sound. "We use it. They will not find us if we move like the night." Carter nodded, trying to absorb her calm, unwavering presence. His legs were weak, knees trembling, but with her beside him, the world seemed slightly less oppressive. They ducked into the remnants of a grocery store. The roof partially collapsed, shelves toppled. Dust hung in the air like a slow-moving fog, disturbed only by their presence. Carter sank against a crumbling counter, chest heaving. "We need to rest," he rasped. "Even a few minutes, just enough to think, plan." Vera lowered herself beside him, her massive form dwarfing the space. "Few," she said softly. "Enough to survive. Then move." Her head tilted, eyes glowing faint amber as she scanned every crack, every doorway, every potential vantage point. Carter traced their route in his mind, plotting paths, escape routes, and safe points in the ruined town. "They'll have drones and patrols," he said quietly. "They'll adapt. Every move we make, they learn." Vera's gaze met his, then we adapt faster, together. A distant metallic hum echoed through the town, the unmistakable sound of a drone skimming above the rooftops. Carter froze. Vera's tail brushed against the floor silently, her body tensing. "Hold," she whispered. They pressed against the shadows, barely breathing as the drone passed, scanning, missing their hiding spot by mere inches. Carter's chest heaved. "Every night, it'll be like this," he muttered. Vera's eyes narrowed, amber slits piercing the gloom. "Every night until they stop, or we make them." Her words carried a grim certainty, a promise of unyielding defiance. Carter looked at her, bruised and battered, yet unwavering. "How do you do it?" he asked quietly. "How do you stay calm, stay ready?" She tilted her massive head, amber eyes meeting his. "Do what must be done. Protect, survive, move, live." Her voice was simple, but each word carried the weight of experience, pain, and determination. Thunder rumbled far off, distant and low, mixing with the hum of the drone. Carter realized this temporary sanctuary was only a pause, a breath before the next wave. But with Vera, he felt hope, a fragile spark. "Then we prepare," he whispered, determination rising through exhaustion. "We wait for nightfall, move quietly, strike only if necessary." Vera's amber eyes fricked toward the horizon, toward the distant low of pursuit, then back to him. "Together," she said once more. Carter nodded, feeling the bond solidify, their trust unbreakable, their will aligned. The night deepened, shadows thickening around them, the ruins of the town hiding them from both drones and distant patrols. For now they rested. For now the fugitives were silent ghosts in a sleeping world. But the hum of pursuit never ceased. Somewhere beyond, the facility's eyes were watching, calculating, and they were coming. Carter's hand brushed against Vera's massive arm form, drawing comfort from her presence. "No matter what, we survive," he whispered. "We survive," she replied, amber eyes glowing in the moonlight, unwavering, powerful, and ready. Night deepened around the derelict town, thick fog curling through shattered streets and hollow buildings. Carter and Vera moved like phantoms, her massive silhouette guiding him through the maze of crumbling walls and abandoned vehicles. Every step demanded silence, every shadow a possible threat. A faint metallic clatter echoed through the mist. Carter froze, heart hammering. "Drone?" he whispered. Vera's amber eyes narrowed, ears flicking toward the sound. "Not alive, but it sees everything." She crouched low, tail brushing debris silently as she scanned the ruined street. "We move." They slipped into the alley behind a collapsed brick building, the moonlight barely touching the ground. Carter clutched the alien weapon he had salvaged, hands trembling from fatigue and fear. "They'll be everywhere, every corner, every rooftop. They'll track us." Vera's massive frame lowered to the shadows, her head scanning like a predator. "We make them wait," she said softly. "Every step we take, we teach them we are not easy prey." A sudden movement to their left caught Carter's eye. 3 human figures, armed and tense, emerging from a building with practiced precision. They moved like hunters, shadows within shadows. Carter's stomach twisted. "They're scouts," Vera whispered, muscles coiling. "We avoid, unless forced." The scouts paused, scanning, unaware of the fugitives pressed against the rubble. Carter exhaled slowly, trying to steady himself. The alien's presence beside him was both terrifying and comforting, a living shield he could trust implicitly. One scout moved closer to the alley. Carter's hand shook over the weapon. We can't just let them pass," he whispered. Vera's amber eyes flicked to his, sharp and unwavering. "We let them, until we strike." Her massive hand brushed his shoulder in silent reassurance. "Timing is survival." As the scout stepped into the moonlight, Vera surged forward with terrifying speed. In one fluid motion she intercepted him, disarming and pinning him with a force that rattled bones. The other 2 scouts froze, stunned by the sheer display of strength and precision. Carter, heart racing, followed her lead, using the distraction to maneuver behind cover. The scout struggled beneath Vera's weight, eyes wide with disbelief. "Move!" she growled, and Carter took the command, sprinting deeper into the ruined streets. The other 2 scouts reacted, weapons raised, but Vera's amber eyes flared. A low, resonant rumble vibrated through the air, and the second scout stumbled backward, thrown off balance by her sheer presence and psychic resonance. Carter's pulse raced as they pressed onward, navigating the twisted streets. "How many more?" he gasped, chest burning. Vera didn't answer immediately, her gaze fixed on the rooftops, shadows, and fog-filled alleyways. "Enough to test us," she finally said. "But we are faster, smarter, together." A distant hum signaled another drone, sweeping the rooftops. Carter ducked instinctively, and Vera pressed him down behind the remnants of a collapsed wall. "Hold," she whispered. The drone passed, unaware of the fugitives beneath it. The 2 moved silently again, weaving through the derelict town, avoiding both scouts and mechanical eyes. Every heartbeat, every step was measured.
Carter realized that tonight would be a series of such tests, small, deadly moments that demanded absolute focus. Finally, they reached the edge of the town, a partially collapsed bridge spanning a narrow ravine. Vera crouched beside him, amber eyes scanning the perimeter. "We make it across, and they will lose us for now." Carter nodded, gripping her massive forearm. "Then let's finish this." She lowered her body, and together they sprinted across the bridge, shadow and strength in perfect harmony. Behind them, the town remained alive with unseen eyes, metallic hums, and human scouts. But in that moment, Carter realized one thing. With her, he could face anything. The night was far from over, but they had survived this first encounter in the derelict town. And survival, Carter understood, was the only plan that mattered.
The bridge groaned beneath their weight, a warning in the silence of the night. But Vera moved with precision, every step calculated. Carter stumbled once, exhausted, but her massive hand steadied him, guiding him across the gap. Moonlight spilled over the far side, revealing a narrow path carved into the hillside. They pressed forward, silent shadows against the broken landscape. The forest beyond the ravine swallowed the town behind them, its fog thick and heavy, masking their trail. Every rustle, every distant clatter made Carter's heart pound. But Vera remained unflinching, muscles coiled, senses alert. Ahead, a faint glow flickered through the trees, like a candle fighting the darkness. Vera paused, ears twitching. Carter leaned against her massive side, breath ragged. "What is that?" he whispered. "Refuge. Someone or something lives here, hidden, safe, for now." The path narrowed, winding through jagged roots and fallen logs. Carter moved with her, trusting her instincts, knowing that every step taken in sync with her meant survival. As they approached the glow, a low hum resonated beneath the ground, subtle but persistent, like a heartbeat in the earth itself. Carter's pulse quickened. They reached a small clearing. An old cabin, half collapsed and overgrown, sat cradled between the trees. Smoke curled faintly from its chimney, carrying the scent of something burning, a fire perhaps, someone tending to it. Vera's gaze swept over the structure, noting weaknesses, entrances, and sightlines. She crouched low, signaling Carter to do the same. "They've been here recently. Not long ago, but safe enough." Carter studied her, mind racing. "Should we knock?" Vera shook her massive head, amber eyes unwavering. "We do not ask. We observe. We know. Safety is not given. It is taken, earned." From the shadows, a figure emerged, small, human, cautious, eyes wide but curious. Carter took a step forward, hands raised in peace. Vera remained a silent sentinel, coiled beside him, an unspoken warning to any threat. The figure froze, then spoke softly, voice trembling. You're not like them. You're not from the facility, are you?" Carter shook his head. "No. We're running. We need shelter. Temporary." The figure studied them, then nodded. "Inside, quickly. They'll follow you if they know you're out here." They moved into the cabin, the warmth of the fire washing over Carter. His body sagged with exhaustion, and Vera pressed him gently toward a corner where he could rest. Her massive frame stretched across the doorway, guarding silently, amber eyes scanning every flicker of shadow outside. Carter finally allowed himself to breathe, the weight of the night pressing against him. We made it," he murmured. Vera's eyes softened, almost imperceptibly. "For now, but the night is not over. They watch, they learn, they adapt." Outside, the wind shifted, carrying faint metallic echoes of distant drones and human scouts. Carter clenched his fists, realizing the reprieve was fleeting. But here, beside Vera, he felt a strange kind of hope, the certainty that together they could endure whatever came next. The cabin was small, but it offered cover, strategy, and time. Carter traced the walls with his gaze, imagining routes, escape points, and vantage areas. Vera crouched beside him, head lowered, observing, listening. "We plan, we survive, we move.
No mistakes. Carter nodded, leaning against her, drawing strength from the unspoken bond. The night stretched on, restless but not without purpose. Shadows whispered, the fire flickered, and outside, the world hunted relentlessly. Inside, two fugitives, one human, one not, prepared for the next step. Each heartbeat a defiance, each breath a promise. The cabin's warmth did little to settle Carter's racing pulse. Every creak of the wooden floor, every whisper of wind through broken shutters set his nerves on edge. He traced the glow of the fire, but his mind stayed on the world outside, relentless, unyielding, hunting them still. Vera crouched by the doorway, massive frame pressed against the worn wood. Her amber eyes scanned the shadows beyond, muscles taut, tail flicking subtly in rhythm with distant echoes. She didn't sleep. She couldn't. Not yet. Not until they were safe. "They'll come," Carter whispered voice, low, almost to himself. "They always do," Vera rumbled softly, the vibration carrying like distant thunder. "But not yet. We wait, observe, strike only when necessary." Carter nodded, leaning back against the wall, the firelight casting fleeting patterns across his bruised face. He allowed himself a moment of quiet, fingers brushing the smudges of dirt and blood along his arms. They had survived so much already, yet the night felt endless. A distant metallic hum reached their ears. Carter froze. Vera's head snapped toward the sound, pupils narrowing to golden slits. "Drone," she whispered, voice taut with focus. It moved through the trees silently, sensors glowing faint red, cutting through the fog like a predatory eye. Vera's claws scraped lightly against the floor as she adjusted her stance, tail coiled like a whip, every muscle prepared for instant action. Carter glanced at her, breath catching. "We can't fight them all. We barely survived the last encounter." Vera's gaze met his, sharp and unwavering. "We do not fight blindly. We survive smart. The forest is our ally." She pressed a massive hand against the wall, listening. Carter watched her, awestruck by the precision and calm in her movements. The drone swept past the cabin, sensor scanning, lights glinting. Vera moved as one with the shadows, her form disappearing from sight as if she had become part of the night itself. Minutes passed. The hum faded. Carter exhaled shakily, realizing they had bought a precious window of time. Yet he knew it would not last long. Every second was borrowed, every moment a countdown until the hunters adapted. He traced a line in the dust across the floor, mapping the terrain outside, imagining obstacles, patrol routes, and potential traps. "We move at night," he said softly. "Avoid patrols, drones. Get to higher ground, somewhere we can see them coming." Vera lowered her massive head beside him, amber eyes meeting his. "And if they corner us?" she asked. "We adapt," Carter replied, chest heaving. "We survive. Together." A sudden rustle outside made them both tense. Shadows shifted along the forest edge, elongated and deliberate. Carter gripped the weapon he had scavenged from the last encounter, knuckles white. Vera's body coiled, low to the ground, tail twitching. 3 figures emerged, human but armed, moving with tactical precision. Carter's pulse hammered. They had followed their trail, exploiting every small trace. Vera growled, low and resonant, a warning that carried the weight of a predator and sentinel combined. "They won't get us," Carter whispered, voice steadying, gripping her massive hand for reassurance. "They may try," she said calmly, amber eyes glinting, "but we are not easy prey. Not tonight." The figures stopped at the edge of the clearing, scanning, speaking in clipped commands. Distant lights flickered as their devices attempted to map the terrain. Vera shifted slightly, stepping forward, her size and presence dominating the clearing, a silent threat to any who dared approach. Carter realized something crucial in that moment. Their survival wasn't just about avoiding detection, it was about commanding presence, using fear and strategy as weapons. Together, they were a force no tracker could easily dismiss. The humans moved cautiously, scanning for traps, but Vera anticipated every step, every potential threat. She leaned low, tail swiping a loose branch, creating the illusion of movement elsewhere, redirecting their attention. Carter followed her lead instinctively, heart pounding, every muscle coiled in readiness. The night stretched on, tense and silent, the forest alive with distant echoes of pursuit. Yet in the small cabin and along the clearing, one truth resonated clearly. They were not helpless, not while they had each other. Carter exhaled, realizing that hope was no longer a fragile thing. It was a weapon forged in fire and blood, carried in the bond between human and alien. And somewhere beyond the trees, the hunters waited, unaware that their quarry had become something far more dangerous than anticipated.
The fog hung heavy as they emerged from the tree line, revealing the skeletal remains of the abandoned town. Broken streetlights flickered weakly, their dim glow casting long, jagged shadows across crumbling sidewalks. Cars lay overturned, glass shards scattered like glitter across the asphalt, and weeds clawed their way through cracked concrete. Carter's legs ached, each step a reminder of his body's limits, yet Vera moved effortlessly beside him, her enormous form a constant shield against both sight and danger. Her amber eyes scanned the desolation, catching every subtle movement, every glint of reflective metal. "Stay close," Carter whispered, leaning heavily against her arm. "We don't know what's out here." "They sense us," Vera rumbled, voice low, almost musical against the night. "But not all are hunters. Some are shadows. Move carefully." The wind carried faint echoes of movement ahead, metallic clinks, whispers of voice, and the occasional rustle of fabric. Carter squinted, trying to discern whether the figures were hostile or survivors, but Vera's presence gave him a strange reassurance. "Follow me," she said softly, coiling her body like a spring as she led them along narrow alleyways and debris-strewn lanes. Her tail swept silently behind her, brushing aside obstacles, creating paths where none seemed possible. Carter stumbled occasionally, but her steady hand and immense strength kept him upright. A sudden sound, a loose shutter clattering, made him freeze. He pressed himself against Vera's side, heart hammering. She didn't flinch, amber eyes glowing faintly as she assessed the source. From the corner of the alley, a shadow detached itself from the darkness. A lone figure, human, gaunt, face obscured by a hood. "Who's there?" Carter rasped, raising the scavenged weapon instinctively. The figure paused, hands raised slightly, showing no immediate aggression. Vera shifted her weight subtly, tail curling in silent warning. The figure's voice was hoarse, strained. "Survivors. Just survivors. Please." Carter's pulse remained rapid. Can we trust them? Vera's eyes flicked between him and the figure, amber orb sharp and assessing. "They are shadows, not hunters, but caution, always caution." Carter lowered his weapon slightly, uncertainty etched on his face. The figure stepped closer, revealing ragged clothing and a faint glow of makeshift tech strapped to their chest. "We can help," they whispered. "Food, shelter, a safe route through the outskirts." Vera's massive frame tensed, ready to strike if needed. "We move as one," she said firmly. "No mistakes. One wrong step, and survival ends." The figure nodded, offering a narrow, trembling path through the ruins. Carter exhaled shakily, glancing at Vera. Her expression softened almost imperceptibly, the faintest hint of a nod acknowledging trust, but only just. They moved, shadows among shadows, navigating twisted streets and collapsed buildings. Drones hummed faintly in the distance, but Vera's presence kept them hidden, every motion calculated, every breath measured. Carter marveled at her intuition, how she seemed to feel the invisible threads of pursuit, anticipating danger before it even manifested. As they reached a partially intact building, a former grocery store now hollowed and warped by time and neglect, Vera signaled them to pause. The figure ducked inside, motioning for them to follow. Carter stepped forward cautiously, heart racing. Inside, the air was musty, tinged with dust and rust, but for the first time in hours there was a sense of temporary reprieve. Vera positioned herself near the doorway, tail coiled, eyes scanning the broken windows and shadows beyond. Carter sank against a counter, body trembling from exhaustion. "They'll be back," he whispered, voice rough. "Sooner or later, they always do." Vera lowered her massive head beside him, amber eyes reflecting the faint light. "And we will be ready," she said, "together." The lone figure moved silently to a corner, setting down a small pack of food and a makeshift map.
Carter glanced at it, noting roots, hidden paths, and clusters of potential danger. "We have a chance," he murmured, "but it's slim." Vera's tail tapped rhythmically against the floor. "Chance is all we need. Opportunity and preparation. We survive tonight. Tomorrow we move again." Carter nodded, exhaustion and adrenaline mingling. The town outside was dead, haunted by its own decay, yet it offered them temporary sanctuary. Shadows loomed everywhere, whispers of the past brushing against their senses, but for now they had each other, and that was enough. They huddled near the corner, listening, observing, planning. The night was long, and the hunters would not rest, but neither would they. And somewhere beyond the shattered streets, the distant hum of drones and unseen watchers served as a reminder. Survival required vigilance, strategy, and unbreakable trust. Carter swallowed hard, letting Vera's presence steady him. They were fugitives, yes, but not helpless. Not while they had each other.
The abandoned grocery store offered fragile shelter, its walls cracked, windows shattered. But it was enough for the moment. Vera crouched near the doorway, muscles coiled, tail sweeping silently behind her. Carter sank to the floor, sweat and grime streaked across his face, chest heaving as he tried to catch his breath. "We can't stay long," Vera murmured, amber eyes scanning every shadow outside. "Hunters will learn. They adapt." Carter nodded, wiping blood and dirt from a shallow gash on his temple. "Then we prepare, plan our route, rest, even briefly, and move before dawn." Vera's gaze swept over the interior, noting every vantage point, every weak spot in the walls, every shadow that could conceal them. "This place," she said quietly, "is temporary, a pause in the storm. But storms do not last." The sound of distant drones hummed faintly, carried by the shifting wind. Carter froze at the noise, heart pounding. Vera's tail flicked once, a subtle signal that danger lurked nearby. "They're close," she whispered, "always close." From the corner of the room, the lone survivor who had guided them here stirred, shuffling a small map across the dusty floor. "There's a safe route through the East Ridge," they said in a hushed tone. "Avoid open streets, stay in shadows. Few patrols here, but movement must be silent. Any mistakes?" Their voice faltered, eyes darting toward the windows as if they'd already been overheard. "We move tonight," Carter said firmly. "No hesitation." Vera inclined her massive head slightly, amber eyes reflecting determination. "Then tonight we survive." The hours crawled forward in tense silence. Carter huddled against a cold counter, listening to the faint rustle of leaves and the hum of distant machinery. Vera remained vigilant, every muscle taut, senses alert to the smallest movement. Shadows shifted outside, dancing in the dim moonlight, hinting at the patrols that lurked in the periphery. Finally, as the first hints of pre-dawn mist crept across the ruined streets, Vera signaled, "Move." Her body lowered, silent and precise, leading Carter through the gaps between debris, along cracked sidewalks, over toppled cars. Every step was careful, measured, calculated. Carter's legs trembled, fatigue gnawing at him, but Vera's presence lent him strength, an unspoken assurance that he could survive. Drones hummed faintly above, sweeping in slow, methodical arcs, but Vera's size and speed allowed them to slip past undetected. A sudden sound, a shard of metal tumbling across the street made Carter freeze. Vera's massive hand shot out, gripping his wrist and pulling him to shadow. The sound passed, harmless, but it reminded them that every second, every movement mattered. They pressed on, the ruined town stretching before them like a labyrinth of danger. Broken signs and skeletal buildings created cover, but also blind spots where threats could emerge without warning. Carter's grip on the scavenged weapon never faltered, eyes darting between Vera and the obscured streets. Hours passed in tense, silent movement. Every sound was amplified, a snapping twig, a faint scuff of shoes, the metallic hum of a distant drone. Yet Vera remained unwavering, guiding him with unerring precision, instincts honed through countless battles. Finally, they reached the edge of the town, where crumbling roads gave way to open fields shrouded in mist. Dawn threatened to break, and with it, the safety of darkness. Carter exhaled shakily, leaning heavily against Vera's side. "Almost," she rumbled softly, "almost beyond reach." But even as relief flickered in his chest, Carter knew the hunt was far from over. The world outside the facility was vast, unpredictable, and relentless. But with Vera beside him, he felt an unshakable certainty. They could endure. They could survive. They were fugitives, yes, but not defeated. Not while they moved together,
shadows among shadows, defiant against a world that sought to claim them.
The open field stretched endlessly ahead, shrouded in mist and early dawn light. Carter's legs ached, muscles screaming from constant exertion, yet he refused to falter. Vera moved beside him, her massive frame a living shield against every unseen danger, each step measured, each movement deliberate. "Keep low," she murmured, voice barely above the whisper of the wind. Amber eyes scanned the horizon, detecting every shift, every shimmer that could betray pursuit. Carter crouched as she indicated, following her lead, his breath ragged. A distant hum broke the silence, mechanical yet deliberate. Carter froze. Vera's tail lashed once, a subtle warning. "Drone," she said, voice taut. Carter's pulse quickened. The field offered no cover, only scattered rocks and low tufts of scrub, inadequate against the prying sensors of their hunters. Vera lowered her massive body to the ground, pulling Carter down beside her. The drone's red sensor glow swept across the mist, pausing inches from their hiding spot before moving on. Carter exhaled shakily. "Too close," he whispered. Vera's amber eyes never left the shifting lights, scanning for the next sign of danger. Hours blurred as they pressed forward through the fields, shadows and mist their only allies. Every sound, the snap of a twig, the distant clatter of machinery, made Carter flinch, but Vera's calm vigilance kept panic at bay. They moved with purpose, each step bringing them closer to the ridge that promised safety if only temporarily. Suddenly, a distant metallic clang echoed across the fields. Carter's stomach twisted. "They're setting traps," he muttered. Vera's eyes narrowed, muscles coiled like springs. "Not traps," she corrected. "Observation. They study, learn, predict." Carter swallowed hard. "Then we need to outsmart them." Vera's head tilted slightly, amber eyes gleaming with understanding. "And we will. Together." The ridge drew closer, but the terrain grew treacherous. Shallow gullies, hidden ditches, uneven ground. Carter stumbled, nearly falling. Vera's massive hand shot out, steadying him instantly. Her presence was more than protection. It was a lifeline, a promise that failure was not an option. From the edge of the mist, shapes began to emerge. Silhouettes of mechanical predators. Drones modified for reconnaissance, smaller than the last, but faster, more precise. Carter's grip tightened on the alien weapon. Vera growled low, a sound that vibrated through the ground, warning them, warning all. The drones converged, scanning, calculating, but Vera's movements were untraceable, fluid. She led Carter through hidden depressions in the terrain, sliding over rocks, leaping gaps in the uneven ground with unnatural speed. The machines hovered, their sensors useless against such coordination. Yet Carter knew more would follow. "Almost there," Vera rumbled, nodding toward the ridge. Carter could see it now, a dark silhouette against the misty horizon. Safety, fragile, fleeting, but tangible. They crossed the final stretch, emerging onto the ridge just as the sun broke through the lingering fog. Dawn painted the world in muted gold, yet the threat remained palpable. Drones swept past below, their sensors scanning the fields they had just left. Carter allowed himself a brief breath of relief. Vera lowered herself beside him, towering, alert, scanning the fields they had traversed. "We've bought time," she said, voice steady. "But they will not stop. Not ever." Carter nodded, eyes fixed on the distant horizon where the city lay shrouded in light and shadow. "Then we keep moving. We survive." Vera's amber eyes glimmered. "And we endure, together." The wind carried the faint hum of pursuit across the ridge, a reminder that the hunt was far from over. Yet for the first time in hours, Carter felt something he had not felt since leaving the facility. Possibility. Hope. And with Vera beside him, he knew they could face whatever came next.
The ridge offered vantage, yet it was no sanctuary. Carter's chest heaved as he tried to steady his breath. Vera's amber eyes scanned the valleys below, muscles coiled, poised for instant reaction. The mist clung to the terrain, hiding movement but not danger. "They're studying us," she rumbled, her voice low, resonating through the ridge. "Every step, every choice, recorded. They will anticipate." Carter swallowed, gripping the alien weapon. "Then we give them nothing predictable." He glanced down into the valley, a maze of abandoned vehicles, collapsed buildings, and misted underbrush. Somewhere in that chaos, hunters waited. A sudden flash of movement caught Vera's eye. Without warning, a volley of sleek projectiles shot across the field below, slicing through the fog. Carter dropped instinctively, the alien weapon rattling in his hands. Vera was faster. Her massive frame moved with impossible precision, intercepting the projectiles mid-air, sending sparks scattering into the mist.
"They're not drones this time," she growled, her amber eyes narrowing. "Humans, trained, armed. They've adapted."
Carter's stomach tightened. He knew their pursuers wouldn't relent, but the sight of organized lethal opposition set his heart racing. "We fight smart," he muttered, echoing the strategy they had agreed upon earlier. "And we survive." From the fog, 3 figures emerged, armed with energy-based rifles. The leader signaled with a hand gesture. The valley erupted with sudden, coordinated movement, dozens of silhouettes closing in, precision beyond human capability. Carter's pulse hammered. "Vera, what now?" Her amber eyes locked on his. "We lure them, split their focus, make them predictable. Then we strike." Carter nodded, despite the exhaustion clawing at him. He shifted beside her, scanning the terrain, plotting routes, leveraging every shadow, every dip in the landscape. Vera moved first, silent, a predator among hunters, drawing their fire with unmatched agility and precision. Sparks and blasts lit the misted valley, but she remained untouchable. Carter followed, weapon ready, relying on her movements, trusting her instincts as they wove through debris and cover. Each step was calculated, each breath measured. The hunters split, trying to flank, but Vera anticipated, intercepting with terrifying speed, her massive arms blocking and redirecting, turning every attack against them. One hunter lunged close, striking at Carter with a vibroblade. Vera reacted instantly, sweeping him aside like he weighed nothing, her strength and control flawless. Carter barely had time to steady himself. "They're testing us," she said, voice low but commanding, "seeing what we can withstand." Another volley came from the ridge above. Carter dove behind a crumbled wall, weapon ready. Sparks flared as Vera caught 2 of the energy blasts, hurling them back with bone-shaking force. The remaining attackers hesitated, uncertainty flickering in their movements. Carter realized the truth. This was more than a chase. This was a trial. Every encounter honed them, every ambush sharpened their instincts, and with Vera beside him, they were no longer prey. They were a force to be reckoned with. The battle raged across the ridge and the valley below, yet Vera moved with an almost calm ferocity. Carter's fear ebbed into focus, into determination. Each synchronized movement, each protective intervention reminded him why they had survived this long. Finally, the attackers faltered, regrouping in the mist below. Vera's amber eyes scanned the field, tail flicking with controlled tension. "We've made them hesitate," she rumbled, "but this is far from over." Carter exhaled, lowering his weapon slightly, still alert. "We need a better vantage. Plan the next move. Rest will come later." Vera nodded, and together they moved along the ridge, shadows among shadows, hunted but unbroken, aware that each step forward brought them closer to the unknown and to the next inevitable clash.
The ridge fell behind them, swallowed by mist and darkness. Carter's legs ached, every step a battle against fatigue, yet he kept pace with Vera's effortless stride. The forest ahead loomed like a living wall, shadows twisting and breathing under the moonlight. "They'll regroup," Vera rumbled, voice low, almost a vibration in the cold air. "The facility's reach is long. They learn, they adapt." Carter swallowed, eyes scanning every branch, every rustle of leaves. "Then we need to disappear completely, find shelter, something permanent away from their sensors." Vera's gaze flicked to him, amber eyes sharp and calculating. "We move fast, we move unseen, nothing else matters." They entered the forest, limbs brushing against damp leaves, mud clinging to boots and claws alike. The mist thickened, masking their movements, yet amplifying every distant sound. Somewhere beyond the trees, mechanical hums and faint footsteps betrayed the hunter's persistence. Carter's pulse quickened. "Vera, what is that?" he whispered, pointing to a faint glimmer through the fog. A structure, part ruin, part modern construction, rose ahead, half hidden beneath overgrowth. She tilted her massive head, nostrils flaring, sniffing the air. "Potential shelter, but danger lies within. Abandoned, but not empty." Carter's hand tightened on the alien weapon. "We have no choice. We need to risk it." Inside, the air was stale, yet breathable. Broken machinery and scattered debris littered the floor. Moonlight filtered through cracks, painting fragmented patterns on walls scarred with rust and ash. Vera moved silently to the center,
ears attuned, muscles coiled like springs. Carter took a tentative step forward, scanning the perimeter. Shadows shifted unnaturally, hints of movement that might be traps, or worse, watchers. His stomach twisted, but he forced himself to stay calm. "They are everywhere," he muttered. "Even here." Vera growled softly, a low, protective sound. "Then we mark our territory, make them hesitate before they touch us." Carter studied her, realizing the depth of her strategy. She wasn't just a shield, she was a predator, a tactician, an entity who combined brute strength with acute awareness. Every instinct, every decision, every movement was designed to protect and outmaneuver their relentless pursuers. He mapped the interior quickly, outlining safe zones, escape routes, and vantage points. She mirrored his movements, acknowledging each choice with a subtle nod or a gentle touch, reinforcing the silent communication that had grown between them. A faint noise, a metallic scrape, echoed from the far end of the building. Carter froze. Vera's eyes narrowed, pupils contracting, muscles tensing. The intruder moved with intent, careful but audacious. "They test us," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "See how we react." Carter gritted his teeth, adrenaline surging. "Then we show them they chose the wrong targets." Vera shifted closer, her immense form coiling around him protectively. The bond between them was no longer just survival. It was instinct, trust, and an unspoken vow. Together, they would endure whatever the world threw at them. Outside, the forest seemed to hold its breath, shadows stretching and folding as if the night itself watched, anticipating the next move. Carter's pulse matched Vera's silent rhythm. Every second mattered. Every step was a calculated gamble. "We wait, we watch, we move," Vera rumbled. "And when the time comes, we strike." Carter nodded, feeling a surge of clarity amidst the exhaustion. The unknown loomed ahead, but with her beside him, he was ready. The forest, the ruins, the relentless pursuers, they would face it all. Together.
Minutes passed in tense silence, broken only by the faint whisper of wind through the ruined building. Carter's chest rose and fell, shallow breaths mingling with the low rumble of Vera's vigilant presence. Every shadow seemed alive, stretching and bending with the rhythm of the forest outside. Then a sound, subtle, deliberate, echoed across the debris-strewn floor. Metal scraped against metal, faint, almost ghostly. Carter stiffened. Vera's amber eyes snapped to the source, pupils narrowing to thin slits. Her massive form shifted, muscles coiled, ready to spring. "They probe," she whispered, voice low and deliberate. "Testing our defenses, seeing our reaction." Carter swallowed hard, gripping the alien weapon tighter. "We can't let them catch anything. Us or this place." Vera moved like liquid, covering the entrances, ears flicking toward every possible sound. The intruders were cautious, but persistence drove them forward. Carter felt the pressure in the air, an invisible hand pressing, testing, gauging. A faint shimmer appeared near a broken doorway. He squinted, heart hammering. A drone, smaller this time, glinting silver as it hovered silently, sensors scanning. Carter froze. Vera exhaled slowly, a low hum vibrating in her chest. "Patience. They will come closer. Then we decide." The drone edged forward, unaware of the traps subtly set in place by their instincts. Vera's massive hand brushed the floor, shifting small debris to create obstacles, disrupting the scanner's patterns. Carter watched, amazed at how she turned instinct into strategy, every movement precise, deliberate, yet fluid, almost effortless. Minutes dragged like hours. The drone hesitated, hovering near the doorway, caught in the web of their silent defenses. Carter felt a spark of hope, but Vera's growl reminded him this was only the first test. More would come. Suddenly, from the trees outside, a soft but insistent vibration thrummed through the floorboards. The hunters themselves, closer than ever, moving with purpose. Carter's pulse raced. "They're advancing," he whispered. Vera's amber eyes flickered with resolve. "Then we move first, strike second, survive always." They slipped into the shadows, moving as one. Carter's weak limbs were carried with her strength, his fear tempered by trust, his uncertainty softened by the bond forged in fire, blood, and relentless pursuit. Outside the night stretched endlessly, the forest thick with mist and hidden threats. Shapes moved just beyond the edge of visibility, tracking them, but unable to pinpoint. Every step was a dance of survival, every heartbeat a defiance against the hunter's relentless will.
Vera paused briefly at the edge of a collapsed wall, scanning the tree line. Carter crouched beside her, sensing the silent dialogue flowing between her and the night itself. "We'll make it," he whispered, though neither could know for sure. Her massive head tilted toward him, eyes locking onto his. "We adapt. They will not control us," she said simply, voice like steel. The drone hesitated again, trapped between instinct and calculation. And in that pause, Carter realized they had the advantage, however fleeting. Together, human and alien, fugitives in a hostile world, they could turn the hunter's precision into their own survival. The forest waited, patient. The night pulsed with quiet anticipation, and with Vera's massive hand,
The night pressed in around them, heavy with mist and the faint metallic echo of distant machinery. Carter's lungs burned, each breath shallow and trembling, but Vera's presence anchored him. Her massive frame moved like a living shadow, silent and fluid, muscles coiled, senses stretched to every whisper of movement. From the tree line, faint vibrations rippled through the soil. The hunters were still close, their patience evident in the way they moved, calculated and relentless. Carter's grip on the alien weapon tightened, fingers trembling as he glanced at Vera. "They track, they test, they learn," she murmured, eyes scanning. "Every hesitation they exploit." Carter swallowed, heart hammering. "We need a path, somewhere deeper, somewhere hidden." Vera tilted her head, amber eyes glinting with quiet calculation. She moved toward a narrow ravine, its sides steep, jagged rocks forming a natural corridor. Through here, less visibility, harder to follow. The two slipped into the shadows of the ravine, branches clawing at their skin, the mud sucking at Carter's boots. Each step was measured, deliberate. Carter stumbled, but her hand caught his, lifting him, steadying him, reminding him of the bond that had carried them this far. Above, a faint whine cut through the night, a smaller drone, sleek and silver, skimming the tree canopy, sensors glowing faint red. Carter froze, but Vera did not falter. With a fluid motion, she ducked low, moving closer to the ravine wall, tail brushing the jagged rocks. The drone passed, scanning, unaware of the shadows holding them. "Every move counts," Vera whispered, her voice low, vibrating with focus. "Do not alert them. Patience is our shield." Carter nodded, following her lead, heart pounding with both fear and exhilaration. They moved silently, shadows against shadows, invisible in the dim moonlight. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting, watching. Ahead, the ravine opened slightly, revealing a cluster of ruined buildings half swallowed by the encroaching forest. Vera paused, nostrils flaring, ears twitching. Carter crouched beside her, exhausted but alert. "This could be a temporary sanctuary," he said softly. She studied the buildings, amber eyes piercing the darkness. Temporary, but enough. To regroup, to breathe, to survive tonight. A distant rustle, faint but deliberate, made Carter tense. The hunters were still near, their persistence unbroken. Vera's massive hand brushed his shoulder, a silent vow that they would face whatever came together. Carter drew a deep, ragged breath, adrenaline spiking. "Then we make it count. Tonight, we survive. Tomorrow, we plan." Vera's low hum resonated through the ruined corridor, the promise of protection and unyielding presence. They moved forward, deeper into the shadows, carrying with them the fragile hope of survival, the bond forged in fire, blood, and relentless pursuit. The night waited, the hunters waited, and Carter realized, with every pulse of fear and determination, that they were no longer merely fleeing. They were alive, together, and ready to turn the tide in the silent war being waged in the darkness. The ruined buildings loomed like ghostly sentinels, half eaten by forest in time. Carter and Vera moved cautiously between the shadows, each step measured, alert to every faint sound. The hum of distant machinery and the whisper of metal in motion reminded them they were not alone. Vera paused, ears twitching, amber eyes scanning the broken skyline. "Something not human," she murmured, muscles tensing. Carter's heart skipped. "Another group?" She shook her head slowly. "Different, older, smarter, watching." A low vibration hummed beneath the rubble, faint but unmistakable, synchronized with the pulse they had felt from the distant light before. Carter froze, realizing the pattern. "It's them. A signal. Not just for her. For both of us." Vera's gaze hardened, pupils thinning to golden slits. "They know we survived. They know we are here, and they are coming." From the corner of the ruined courtyard, a faint glow began to form, barely visible against the night.
Carter squinted. The light pulsed, irregular at first, then faster, as if mimicking a heartbeat. And then he noticed something that made his stomach twist. Embedded in the glow were shapes, not quite solid, flickering in and out of perception, hovering above the ground. "They're not just calling her. They're calling us," he whispered, voice trembling. Vera's body coiled, ready, but she did not advance. "We can't ignore it, but we also can't approach blindly. This is bigger than the facility, bigger than us. They are aware of the bond, the change." Carter swallowed, adrenaline surging. "Change?" Vera's gaze softened, almost sad. "What we are now, what we've become, it is only the beginning." Suddenly the flickering shapes pulsed again, and from within the light came a voice, not spoken aloud, but threading directly into Carter's mind. "You are no longer human. You are not theirs. You are the key." Carter staggered back, heart pounding. Vera's hand rested on his shoulder, grounding him. "The key?" he asked, voice barely audible. The shapes and the glow began to coalesce into humanoid forms, but their faces were obscured, shifting, alien yet eerily familiar. Their presence radiated intelligence and danger in equal measure. The column of light above intensified, piercing through the clouds, illuminating the forest like day. "They are not here to negotiate," Vera said grimly, voice low, vibrating with quiet fury. "They are here to test, to claim, to see what we've become, and to see if the world is ready for it." Carter looked at her, realization dawning. "We're not just running anymore. We're part of something bigger, something they've been waiting for." Vera's eyes glowed gold in the darkness, muscles coiled, ready for whatever came next. "Then we face it, together, no matter the cost." As the light expanded, revealing more figures and more unknown technology, the ground trembled beneath their feet. The ruins of the abandoned town seemed insignificant under the looming presence of forces beyond comprehension. Carter swallowed hard, gripping her hand tightly. "So, this is it?" Vera's low hum resonated like a drumbeat of defiance. "No, this is only the beginning." The camera of the imagination pulls back, revealing the column of light stretching into the sky, the flickering humanoid shapes moving with deadly purpose, and the forest surrounding Carter and Vera alive with unseen eyes. A faint pulse, like a heartbeat, echoes through the air, a signal that seems to whisper to everyone watching, "The world has changed, and it has only just begun."
Hey everyone, if this video hits 1,000 views, I'll drop the next part of our story. There are 2 more parts waiting, so make sure to share this with your friends and help us hit that milestone. To all of you who commented on part 1 asking for the next chapter, this one's for you. Tag your friends, spread the word, and let's make this story go viral together. Thanks for watching, and let's see if we can reach 1K views fast.